Hello my bookworms, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Sydney. In today's video, we will be going over pie charts, graphs, numbers, everything relating to my bookish quarterly stats for these first 3 months of the year. So hey, what's up? How are you? I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me for a little bit. This is my first time doing quarterly stats. I'm really excited. I love these videos. I think they're super fun to watch. I am a big visual person, so seeing the pie charts, the graphs, and all of the numbers represented of, I don't know, your year thus far is always very aesthetically pleasing for me. So I wanted to jump in on it this year, and I'm really excited. I am looking forward to chatting about all of these numbers with you guys. So let's get right on into it. Since this is my first time doing a quarterly stats video, I definitely took some inspiration from Kayla over at Books and Lala. Her quarterly stat videos are definitely ones that I watch start to finish without fail every single time. I also want to shout out Deja from Deja's Book World because she makes this Google Sheet thing that you can buy on her Etsy. If she still has it up, I will link it down below. But it's just this like beautiful, easy to use sheet that takes in all the information that you put in and puts them already into graphs and pie charts, and it's beautiful. Made my life really easy when I decided I wanted to do this video. So very first stat is number of books per month for January, February, and March. In January, I read 10 books. In February, I read 11 books. And in March, I read 5. And let me preface that just a little bit by saying that this number of books read per month are only including books that I finished in that month. So sometimes, quite a few times, I have carryovers from the previous months that I will finish in the following month. So in March, I had read half of 2 other books that are not counted towards that book total. However, I did count those pages. So that is the next stat that we're gonna get into, because it looks like I didn't read that much last month, which maybe I didn't read as much as January and February, like for sure, I get that. But the number of pages is actually quite similar, and maybe not. Let's chat about it. Now, when talking about the number of pages read per month, again, on the spreadsheet, it only counts the books that I physically finished. However, I keep my own monthly reading journal, which I make these like monthly TBR shelves. And at the end of the month, I count all of the total pages read, including books that I hadn't yet finished. So this number might be a little bit more accurate, so I'm just gonna tell you both. In January, I read a total of 4,002 pages. In February, I read 3,182 pages. And in March, per these stats, I have 2,128 pages, but per my reading journal, I have 2,790 pages. I think that these numbers make sense to me because at the beginning of the year, I was reading heavily for certain videos, like my Reading Booktuber's Best Books of 2022. I read quite a few books just for that video alone. So I was really focused on quantity and really getting the books read for the content that I had planned for, you know what I'm saying? And I would say same in February. I had like a romance reading vlog that I really wanted to do, so I really focused on that, getting those books read, and I also allowed myself to mood read quite a bit in February as well. Other than that romance reading vlog, I was obviously very excited about the Reading Ice Planet Barbarians with Caleb. That video has begun our Weird Words series where we read books similar to that and we sit down and we chat about it with you guys, and it was just so much fun. I will watch that video whenever I'm sad just to, you know, feel something happy. I really loved my video where I did my spring book recommendations, but mostly because I share my wedding video within that video, and I just absolutely adore our wedding video. I think it's stunning, and if you want to see my wedding day, then you should watch that video. March was when Caleb and I started renovating the house again, so I wasn't able to sit down and read as many times or for as long as I had in the previous months. And that being said, the content that I was most excited about in March was the reading vlogs in which I showed, you know, some time lapses and reveals of our new house renovations. Those are really special to me. I love making them because I love the little time capsule element of it, being able to look back on those videos and see really how far our house has come. And of course, I love doing my Spin the Bottle TBR every single month. It is definitely a highlight. Another sort of video that I love filming and I love editing, and I love doing the premieres at the beginning of each month with you all. But yeah, I know I kind of just went off on a tangent and talked about content when we were chatting about page count, but I think that the trajectory of how the year has gone so far within the content that I've created kind of goes into the reading habits and how much I was actually able to read, I suppose. So you just got a little extra bonus of my favorite videos that I've made this year. But moving on, let's chat about how I acquired the books that I read. I truly was not even even going to include this because I know that I am a serial, if I want to read it, I'm just gonna buy it type of person. I'm the worst. I am. I fully own that. But I will say it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. So, and maybe you're still gonna be like, Sydney, this is still terrible, but that's fine because I was actually pleasantly surprised. So it was actually equal. 50% of the books that I read this year so far in 3 months, I've just purchased. If I outright purchased them, it was because I had a high hope that I would enjoy it and therefore would want to keep it after I filmed the video that it was for. 9 times out of 10, that is my thought process. And then 19, it says 19.2, about 19% of the books that I read were already on my physical TBR. Already owned them, didn't have to buy them or find them somewhere else. About 7 or 8% of the books that I read were gifted to me. And then 15.4, so 15%, I read on my Kindle. The vast majority of that percentage are books that were on Kindle Unlimited, so I just downloaded them and read them. And then a whopping 7 to 8% that I read via my library. This includes Libby and downloads from the Libby app to my Kindle or using Libby for audiobooks, whatever it may be. I need to get a lot better at using my library. I mean, I use my Libby app literally every day of my life, and you'll see why in a moment, because I love using Libby for audiobooks. It is like my favorite thing in the world. Because going right into the format that I read these books, because it kind of ties right in. 57.7%. I'm just gonna start rounding up, okay? So 58% I read via audio and physical. So either I sat down with the audiobook and physically read it at the same time, or I had the audiobook most of the time on Libby, and I would sit down and read the book, and other times I would just listen to the audiobook if I was doing something else. Likewise, the same exact thought when I say ebook and audio. So again, either sitting down and listening or listening while doing other things, but it's the same book. About 8% was physical, just read it cold turkey, alone, no noise, no words being spoken through my ears. And then about 19% was just pure audiobook. I just love an audiobook. I truly love an audiobook. I am one of the biggest advocates of them, I swear. And moving on into general ratings of the year. How has my rating year actually gone? Well, friends, let's talk about it. I had my first 1-star read of my entire life this year. That was a horrible time for me to be alive. That book was Magnolia Parks, in case you were wondering. I had 1 2-star book, 5 3 stars, 8 4 stars, 3 4.5 stars, and then 7 5 stars. That's pretty good. It's definitely heavier on the 4 to 5 star range, but my average rating was 3.94. And it also says on Goodreads that my average rating for 2023 thus far is 3.9, but they don't allow half stars because they're ridiculous. And so the 3.94 is more accurate. Of all of these books that I've read thus far, 22 of them were adult, 2 were new adult, and 2 were young adult. We can obviously see where my preferences lie. I really have to be in the mood for YA. I don't know, it has to be a conscious choice for me these days, which is fine. That's just how it is. And in terms of these books and who wrote them, 17 of the books that I've read, which is 65%, were new authors to me. Hadn't read from them before, decided to give them a chance, and I would say most of them panned out pretty well. And then the remaining 9 books that I've read, which is about 35%, were repeat authors. And most of those were series continuances because I am doing it. I am actually sticking to a yearly goal of mine. I am reading and trying to finish my book series. This is phenomenal. We're doing great. We're doing great this year already. We just really need to keep this energy going. Oh, I didn't even do genre yet. Who am I? I was actually a little bit surprised at this pie chart. I mean, I'm not surprised by the genre that I read most of, right? 8 of the books that I've read were predominantly fantasy. That is about 31%. My second most read genre was romance, which was 7 books, and that was about 27%. That's bananas to me. I did not expect that at all. The third most read was horror, which was 4 books, and that was about 15%. Literary fiction had 3 books, about 11.5%. Sci-fi was 2 books, 7 to 8%. And then I read 1 thriller and 1 book that was predominantly magical realism. I tend to stick with what I love, you know? Fantasy is definitely my favorite genre, and horror is slowly becoming a dark horse for me. I am absolutely loving psychological horrors, books like Our Wives Under the Sea, We Spread by Ian Reid. Those types types of books are becoming easily some of my favorites to read. And romance, again, it's very surprising. I'm not mad about it, but I just didn't think that I had read that many. Like, it's almost as much as fantasy. I don't know. I'm kind of having an identity crisis, just mildly. In terms of book series, in January, I finished out the David Bad trilogy and read Kingdom of Copper and Empire of Gold to conclude that series and started the year off very strong. Another series that I started was Ice Planet Barbarians. I don't know if I will devotedly continue it. I might continue it every now and then, you know, for fun, but I don't have plans to like sit down and read through them constantly. You know what I'm saying? They might be little like palate cleansers every now and then, which is great for me. I started another new series, which was the Dreamland Billionaires, read the fine print in February and Terms and Conditions in March. I have the third and final book in that installment, which is The Final Offer, and I plan to read that this month in April. I tried to finish the duology that is A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless, but I actually DNF'd A Fire Endless. So that is my only DNF of the year so far, was A Fire Endless. And it's a soft DNF. It's not a hard DNF. I just really wasn't in the mood for it. I don't love that series as much as I thought I did. It hasn't been holding up, you know, in my mind. But that's neither here nor there. Then I continued the Faithful and the Fallen series. Read Valor, which is the second book. I am in the middle of Ruin, which is the third book, and have plans to read Wrath, which is the fourth and final book, as soon as possible. So that goal alone, which was, you know, finishing series, it's been one that's been on my goals of whatever year we're in historically, like every year that I've been here. This is the first year that I think I'm actually making a priority, and I'm really enjoying my time. I am obviously starting new series. It is what it is. But I am allowing myself to mood read within the books and series that I have already started. And again, have been having a great time with that. I think the last thing that I kind of wanted to chat about in this video was just checking in on my goals. I made a 2023 lifestyle and bookish goals video at the beginning of the year, or at the end of last year, I guess. And like already established, continuing and finishing series is one of them, and one that I am actually doing pretty well on. Very happy about that. My Goodreads reading goal for the year is set at 75 books, which it says I'm like 8 books ahead of schedule at the moment, which is great. It's a good feeling. Another goal that I had was finding the content that I am happy with putting out there, as well as happy with creating. So far this year, I think that I've been doing a really good job at that as well. There hasn't been a single video that I wasn't really excited to post. Vlogs are a love-hate relationship with me. I actually really like doing reading vlogs. I think they're fun. I really love filming the B-roll and the day-to-day things. I'm all about like slowing down and romanticizing life sort of thing. I'm trying to do more of that in 2023. So if there are specific reading vlogs that you guys want to see from me, let me know. I want to do them, but I want you to want them. A few of the other goals that I chat about in that like 2023 goals video mostly were like lifestyle goals and goals that are just actively in the works, so to say, like more content with Caleb and merch. Don't even talk to me about it because I can't even handle it. I have designs. I am in the middle of making more. Again, doesn't make sense to me. I'm really excited about it. But with all of that being said, how do I feel? How do I feel about the reading year thus far? I am pretty much overwhelmingly on the positive side of reading this year, which is a really great feeling. I think that I am starting to find my groove within life, as well as creating content and balancing that work schedule, content creation, reading, relationship, family, all of these things. Life is busy. Life is always very crazy. But I feel like I'm starting to like slow down and, you know, again, find my groove. And I think a big part of this is just allowing myself to see reading as something that's fun and not something that I have to do for content, or because I do have to do it for content, but I don't see it as that. When I pick up a book to read it, I'm genuinely pretty much always going into it thinking like, oh, I'm excited to read this and this is what I want to read right now. Allowing myself to mood read is something that I haven't really done since I've been here, and that is like the pinnacle of everything for me. Like it's really been great this year. And it's really been great because of all of you always sticking with me, and all of the new subscribers. I am eternally grateful for you. And to my patrons, I feel like I'm like pronounced like an acceptance speech right now. Like I'm not trying to, but like I'm just so overwhelmingly grateful for all the people that I have in my life, especially my patrons over in the greenhouse. Y'all make me so happy every single day, and anytime I get to write a welcome letter to any single one of you little bookworms, it just makes my heart swell. So moving on and dissociating so I don't start crying. That is it. That is the end of the quarterly stats. Was this video a little bit weird? Was it ranty? Was it just like, did it just divulge into emotional like thank you speeches? I don't know. I didn't mean for it to happen, but it happened and this is who I am. Oh my goodness. I didn't even tell you like my favorite books of the year so far. Okay. In no stretch of the imagination am I going to find all of the books that I read this year. This is just a stack of books in my living room because I don't have bookshelves yet. That is actually the next home project. So get ready to see my home library, everyone, because I know that I'm so ready to see it. I am overwhelmingly excited. I haven't had bookshelves as an adult. I've never had a bookshelf. I mean, like the little like credenza style thing that I put books on, like sure, that could count, but I'm talking like an actual just like large bookshelf just for books and not also knickknacks and storage. Never had one. So I'm very excited. Deep breaths. It's happening in the next month or two. Again, that being said, I'm just gonna throw up photos of the books. My favorite books of January were Paranesia by Susanna Clark, We Spread by Ian Reid, and You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emezi. Those three books will live in my head rent-free for a very long time. February had more so mid-range books for me. I only had really, I mean, I had a few favorites, but I think the book that stands out the most is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. That was for sure my favorite of February. I would also consider The Fine Print by Lauren Asher a new favorite book. Really kind of like broke open my mind even more to the romance genre. And obviously we already talked about, apparently I am a big romance girly now, according to the pie chart. And I did also really love Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. And then in March, my favorite two books of that month were definitely Valor by John Gwynne and Tripping Arcadia by Kit Maquist. Okay, wow, I'm really glad I remembered to do that. I would have been real upset if I forgot. So that is all that I have for you today. If you are still watching, then leave the sparkle emoji down below in the comments. And while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. I always appreciate your support. And of course, be kind to one another and happy reading. Bye.